And I don't want to say he was Presbyterian because I don't have the letter and I don't remember his faith. All right. But we once got this letter from this person who said he was in church about to take communion when the plate with the round wafers was put in front of him. He had read our book, studied the photographs, and recognized the pagan identity of the round wafer. Now, the amazing thing is I don't recall any specific photograph of that round wafer or Eucharist being in our book. But there evidently was enough about the pagan invasion of Christianity in there that he said he felt like tossing the entire dish of wafers out the church window. Good for him. Why do I say that? Because before Christ returns, true, genuine Christianity must be brought out from under the rubbish Satan has heaped on it. For millennia, mankind has studied the path of the planets. Nothing wrong with that. But when you move from astronomy to astrology and come up with the zodiac and the solar wheel and horoscope and purport to be able to divine human behavior from the alignment of the planets when an individual was born, the Bible condemns that. You have become what the Bible calls an observer of the times when you do that, and you have moved into the occult. Here is God speaking through Moses in Deuteronomy 18, 9-12, or speaking to Moses. When you are come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you any one that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. That's a pagan practice. Or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Deuteronomy 18, 9-12. In addition to the heavens themselves, mankind seems always to have been fascinated with the sun. Stonehenge and the pyramids tell us that. But to carry it over into the worship of God, as I said, no way. The two cannot be mixed. And wherever they are, the occult has got to go. It has got to be repudiated, banished into the wilderness, put away from us. So let's look at a few examples of pagan or occult practices pointed out in this book, the New Illustrated Great Controversy, which, as I said, we're making better. We'll start with number one, the solar wheel. The solar wheel adorns quite a bit of Catholic architecture. Here's a picture of one we took while we were in Portugal at a little place called Évora a few months ago. We used a drone. There you see members of the team there, and we're practicing and we're going up to that solar wheel. I saw it and I knew that there would be value in it and sent that drone up there to take a shot. These solar wheels are not only to be found on Catholic churches. The Vatican itself is laid out like a giant solar wheel. There's that picture from our book on your screen. What is this doing at the headquarters of an institution that purports to be Christian? As I said, it is from the solar wheel that we get the horoscope, which God condemns. Number two, the mitre. The next piece of rubbish I'd like to draw your attention to today is not the round wafer that man felt like tossing out the window, but the mitre of the priests who administer the wafer. That'll put the wafer itself in context. Where do we see this mitre first? Look at this picture. On Dagon, the father of Baal, the sun god. When I say father, in classical literature or pagan literature, Dagon was thought to be the daddy of Baal, who was the sun god of Phoenicia. While the full-blown fish mitre adorns Dagon's priests, a truncated version, featuring only the open mouth of the fish, adorns the Pope. This mitre is so important to the Vatican that they even bury their popes in them. I want you to take a time and just look at the shots that I'm putting up on your screen. Isn't this telling us something about the true loyalty of the popes? Why bury them in any version of Dagon's mitre? Tragically, even once Protestant Anglican priests now wear this vestige of Baal worship. But there's more. The third item, the monstrance. Once again, before we look at the round wafer or Eucharist, let's look at the container in which the wafer is placed for adoration. It's called a monstrance. Let's look at a few. What is common to all of them? The sunburst. Now, I don't know the significance of this motif, which predates Christianity. Some say it's a cosmic symbol of the sun mating with the moon. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But look here. Look at this monstrance on your screen. Can't you see the crescent moon itself used as a frame or holder for the round wafer? Friend, what is this doing in Christianity? With that under our belts, now I think we can turn to the wafer itself, the Eucharist. Admittedly, this picture isn't in our book, but let's ask the question anyhow. Why is the Eucharist round? The bread is supposed to represent the broken body of Jesus. So what part of Jesus is round? Friend, can't you see it? The Eucharist is round because, like the mitre, itself a throwback to the sun god Baal, and like the monstrance, which is borrowed from paganism, this round wafer clearly represents the round S-U-N, not the S-O-N. Beloved, the mitre, the monstrance, and the Eucharist are pure paganism. And not just paganism, but sun worship. And they've crept into the church. Do you know how many millions of so-called heretics were slaughtered because they refused to bow down before this piece of bread, which the Catholic Church teaches is the actual body of God? Listen, are you beginning to see some dots here that may be disturbing you? Some dots you never even suspected existed before? Do you see why I say that there is rubbish to be thrown out of the Church of Christ? Now maybe you're ready to look at number 5. Christmas. In the ancient Roman Empire, the sun god was named Sol Invictus. His birthday was celebrated on the shortest day and longest night of the year. We know it as the winter solstice. And in the old Julian calendar, it fell on, guess what day? December 25th. That's the pagan festival honoring the birthday of the sun, S-U-N, fell on December 25th. The formal name of that birthday was Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun. Knowing full well what they were doing, possibly in the hope of winning pagans to Christianity, the Catholic Church baptized this relic of sun worship, December 25th, and introduced it into Christianity as Christmas, the birthday of the S-O-N. What a con game. The birthday of the sun, S-U-N, being palmed off as the birthday of the Son, S-O-N, of God. Before we look at number 6, let's summarize here. What have we looked at? What are the symbols that we've looked at today? Symbols that have paganism at their root. Symbols that in some instances point us right back to sun worship and are therefore to be classified as blasphemous, thoroughly alien to Christianity, left us by Jesus. Thus far we have 1, the solar wheel. Number 2, the Pope's mitre. Number 3, the monstrance. Number 4, the Eucharist. Number 5, the pagan festival of the birthday of the sun, Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, which the church baptized and incorporated into Christianity, calling it Christmas. Now maybe you're ready for number 6, Sunday. Undoubtedly the most pervasive, resilient and deceptive vestige of sun worship in the entire church is the weekly festival of the Venerable Day of the Sun. Those are the words of Emperor Constantine when he instituted the first Sunday law. What makes Sunday keeping so deceptive? Some Christians actually believe they are honoring God by keeping what they see as the Sabbath of the Lord. But Sunday keeping is pagan, a throwback to the times when men worshiped the sun. I'll say it again, what a con game. Beloved, these are relics of the same paganism against which Elijah contended on Mount Carmel. And they must all be exposed, acknowledged, and repudiated by those of us who call ourselves Christian. Not until the dots are connected in the public consciousness. Not until Christians can be brought to see just how many relics of ancient sun worship are alive and well in the church. And not just alive and well, but alive and well and masquerading as legitimate Christian icons. Not until this is done, in my opinion, will the pagan origins of Roman Catholicism be fully revealed across the earth. Not until this is done, the connecting of the dots as I've laid them out today, will the mystery of iniquity receive her death blow. Not until this is done will the true Sabbath of the Lord, the seventh-day Sabbath, be restored to its original place of authority and dignity across the world. Sun worship must be exposed for what it is. Like the penny brought to Christ in Matthew 22, about which he asked, whose image and superscription is this? So must Sunday sacredness be held up before the world and the same question asked. Whose image and superscription is this? That's not Christ's image there on Sunday, my friend. Christ said he was Lord also of the Sabbath, the creator of the Sabbath. That's somebody else's image on Sunday. I don't care what some Christians tell us about the resurrection of Jesus on Sunday. Sunday sacredness is not Christian. And I'll prove it to you right here and right now. If I were in a court of law, yes, I'd use my Bible and other supporting texts, but I'd build my case around this point. This is what I'd argue. If Paul or any of the apostles had changed the day of worship from Sabbath to Sunday, then without a doubt the Jews would have hurled this charge upon them. Certainly they would have hurled this charge upon Paul when they clamored for his death. Go to your Bible and read it for yourself. Acts 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Read it. There is the charge that Paul brought a Gentile into the temple, for they almost killed him over it. But there is no mention of the charge of Sabbath breaking in the litany of charges pressed upon him. Why? Because Paul kept the Sabbath of the Lord. The apostles kept the Sabbath of the Lord, the day of the Lord. No. Far from being Christian, Sunday keeping is but one more vestige of sun worship that has invaded Christianity and deceived billions. Friend, in Christianity, God makes the rules, not man. No man has the authority to tamper with the law of God and to declare any day holy and another unholy or repudiated. How dare any man call the Sabbath of the Lord the Jewish Sabbath? It is neither my Sabbath, nor your Sabbath, nor the Jews' Sabbath, nor the Gentile Sabbath. The Sabbath belongs to God. It is his Sabbath. He made it when he laid the foundations of the earth, and no man has the authority to touch it. As for those of us who keep it, we in effect are saying, here is my faith. I believe this planet was created by God in 6 literal days. But not just our planet. I believe man is a created being and that my homage is due to the God who created me and our planet, not to the Pope. I will keep the day designated by God as holy to commemorate creation and reject the day dedicated to the sun. How did Jesus put it? Matthew 15:9, he said, but in vain they do worship me. Do you understand that? Vain, useless. In vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. When you can show me a Sabbath Sunday switch from the Bible, then I'll listen to you. Friend, Sunday sacredness must be exposed for what it is, a con game, a child of the devil himself.
Hebrews 4. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, As I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day, on this wise, And God did rest the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, If they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again, he limiteth a certain day, saying in David, Today, after so long a time, as it is said, Today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. For the word of God is quick and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked, and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy, and find grace to help in time of need.